Hello, it's Frankie Widows here, and for those of you that have been with me before, welcome back. Lovely to see you all again, and for those of you that haven't, hello. So sorry I've not really been around too much over the past months. I've been so busy working on projects behind the scene. Yeah, I have been on social media and that, but I took a little bit of time out for myself and to get some projects done. But in that time, one of the things that I was working on with my manufacturers, who are UK based, was, are your products safe? And this is something that actually I've spoken about several times already this year at paid lash events. However, you guys are getting this content for free. Now, we have a massive issue within the industry, which I'm going to go over in a minute through a presentation which I did, which I'm actually putting on here so that you guys can listen to it. And it is, are your products safe? Now, very quickly, we have a massive issue which we are burying our head in the sand about at the moment, which is that we are saturated with unregulated cosmetic based products, and I will go over all of this. It's very likely, guys, that you are using unregulated cosmetic based products on your clients, which are going to cause long-term damage to their lungs, your lungs as well, and also fertility issues. People don't talk about this because people don't want to know the cheap crap that they are buying from these countries that mass produce these products and sell them for a couple of dollars is potentially harmful. It is harmful. We've done our studies. It's all in this presentation, guys, so you need to listen to it. But as an industry, we don't want to know that. We want to bury our head in the sand and buy it as cheap as we can so we can make as much profit, but not anymore. We have got to take a stand for our own health and for the health of our clients, and the fact that we are in a new industry pretty much, and this is going to get bad. This is going to go bad eventually when people start having serious complications as to the crap we are using in our industry. So as you can hear, I'm very passionate about this. Thank you so much for being here. The fact that you are makes me think that actually you want to learn about this. Please try and listen all the way to the end. There is so much information in here that you guys are getting free. Other people have had to pay for this in the past. Other people have actually asked me if they can pay for this, and I'm like, no, I'm putting it out here for free because we need to make a stand as an industry and work together to start protecting ourselves and our clients, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to. So without further ado, let's jump into this, where there is so much information which I hope is going to be an eye-opener for you guys. So hello and welcome to this presentation where I am going to be talking about the subject of, are your products safe? So first of all, who am I? My name is Frankie Widows and I am from the United Kingdom. I am the founder and the owner of eyelashexcellence.com. We are a lash supply store, but we also do other lash services such as training, mentoring, and lots of other different types of things, so come and check us out. I've got 9 years experience within the lash industry and I'm an award-winning lash artist and educator. I'm also an international trainer, I'm a lash judge and I'm a speaker. I really enjoy product developing as well, so I have invented several products over the years which are now very popular within the lash industry, and I'm extremely passionate about product safety, which is something I think is lacking within our industry, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this talk, and hope that it's going to be really interesting and an eye-opener to the lash industry. So let's jump straight into it. Is the lash industry regulated? Now, there is no international governing body regulating the manufacturing or the selling of cosmetic-based products. So why is this? It's because each country has its own regulations when it comes to pretty much policing cosmetic-based products, and what can be classed as prohibited in one country can freely be manufactured, exported and sold in another. And in an international lash industry, this makes it very difficult to know whether what you are actually buying is safe. So what is a cosmetic product? Now, cosmetics are constituted from a mixture of chemical compounds which are derived from either natural sources or synthetically created ones. Now, cosmetics can be classed as products such as skincare or body cleansers, as well as those designed to enhance one's appearance. So, for example, makeup. Now, in addition to this, they can also fall into the category of any substance or mixture intended to be placed in contact with the various external parts of the human body. So from all of this above, we can actually see that our lash products certainly fall into the category of being classed as a cosmetic. So namely the liquid-based products that we are using, so not accessories. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute. So what is a cosmetic lash product? So anything like our adhesives, our primers, pH balancers, cleansers, bonders, debonders, etc. Anything, like I said, that is a liquid-based product that we use on our clients. Now, not accessories, so not things like tweezers or mascara wands or the lip spoolies. Lashes are not classed as cosmetics either. So more so it's those liquid based products that we are using throughout the treatment. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly just touch on the cosmetic products legislations in sort of the main countries across the globe. Now, there is so much that goes into this, and if I actually went into depth in this, we would be here all day. So I've just picked out the main points. So depending on what country you are in the world, I do urge you to go away and do your research for the legislation governing your country that you are in or where you are importing your products from. So first of all, let's talk about the UK. Now in the UK and across Europe, cosmetic products are governed by robust safety legislation. And this is the EU Cosmetic Products Regulation 1223/2009 CPR. Now, in America, it's the USA FDA, which regulates cosmetics under the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. In Australia, it's the National Industrial Chemicals Notification and Assessment Scheme, and that is responsible for managing cosmetic-based products. And in Canada, all cosmetics sold in Canada must be safe to use and must not pose any health risks, and they must meet the requirements of the Food and Drugs Act and the cosmetic regulations. But like I said, guys, there is a lot to this, so please go away and do your own research for the regulations in your current country. So this makes it really confusing depending on where you are in the world and also where you're buying your products in from. And this is due to the different international regulations. It really is a minefield to know whether our lash cosmetics are covered in your country and most importantly are safe, because that's what we're talking about, is safety. Now, most cosmetic based lash products are not going to be manufactured within the country you live in. Therefore, do you know that what you are buying is really that safe or approved within your country? And it's even harder for suppliers, so companies like myself that actually buy in products from manufacturers and supply to the lash industry, to ensure that what they are buying in from the manufacturer conforms to their country's regulations or the countries that they distribute to, and of course again whether it is safe or not. So let's talk about where are most of the lash products produced or manufactured that we have in the lash industry. So the main manufacturers for our products are actually China, so they tend to be lashes, accessories and liquids. Vietnam is the same, Korea is the same, and Pakistan you tend to get more sort of tweezers and tools from there, although you do get glues and primers and those sort of liquid base from them, but I think that they tend to buy them in from the Far East and then sell them almost as a bit of like a broker. So as you can see, a lot of the time they're not coming from the main countries that I'm speaking about in this presentation. So why is it that we choose to buy from here? Well, firstly, the products are so cheap. So you're looking at like literally $2 to $5 wholesale price for adhesives, primers, lash trays, etc. So when the suppliers buy these cheap products in from manufacturers and then they mark them up to sort of, $20, you can see they're making quite a big earning on buying such cheap products in. It's also very cheap shipping as well. So usually if you're coming from the Far East, you don't actually have to pay any shipping fees, and you don't always seem to get stung by the import taxes. Mass produced, so they have massive factories out there with lots and lots of workers, so they can pump out big orders in quick time compared to other factories. They have a very, very wide selection of products that you can buy from them. A lot of manufacturers will do your lashes, your glues, your accessories, so you can get everything from these manufacturers. They're very high strength cosmetics a lot of the time, which is what people in the lash industry love, because the glues are so strong, the primers are so strong. But guys, there is a reason for that, which we'll talk about in a bit. And also, these are the main countries that manufacture them. We have no choice but to go to these companies or these manufacturers in the Far East, because that is where they produce them. If you look for a supplier within your own country, you'll actually find there really isn't many, especially with things like your lashes and your tweezers. You have to go outside your own country. So like I said, we have no choice but to go abroad to purchase these products. So let's talk about the issues with cheap mass-produced products, so the cosmetic ones that we're talking about. Now, cheap cosmetic products are usually cheap for a reason. You do get what you pay for in this world, don't you? Yeah, you really do. Now, cosmetics that contain high quality ingredients, they don't come cheap. You know, with any of your makeups or your skincare, you want a good quality product that, you know, a lot of the time we're looking for organic products as well. You pay a lot higher price for that. You can't buy that for $2. And this is not only to cover the quality of the base products that are used, so the base ingredients, but the cost of having these cosmetics approved to meet safety regulations. Because safety certifications on these cosmetic based products have to be outsourced to independent companies. They don't do this in-house because they're just manufacturers. If you want to get safety certifications, you have to go to independent companies that are regulated to be able to issue those safety certifications. This costs companies thousands. Thousands and thousands and thousands to have this done on their products. And they can't just come in and do it on one product and go, there you go. They have to test every single cosmetic product that that manufacturer is selling. So if you start to think now, can you really be confident that high quality cosmetic products that have been independently certified from an outside agency can cost only $2 to $5? You know as well as I do, guys, that the answer is going to be no. So the reality is that safe cosmetic lash products with the correct certifications can actually cost suppliers 5 to 8 times as much as this to buy in at wholesale. And this is why so many lash suppliers choose cheap cosmetic products, either unknowingly that what they're buying in is dangerous, or unethically. They know that it's not good quality, but they're there for the money and they're going to buy in the cheapest product they can, whack a label on it and sell it without any certifications and just take the money at the end of the day. So I just wanted to show you some example of cheap lash cosmetics that I actually found on AliExpress, and here is just a wide variety. You'll see two on here, Sky Glue and Lady Black, that are very popular within the lash industry, unfortunately. You know, you're looking at literally $2.99 up to $8 for these adhesives. Seriously, guys, do you honestly think at that cheap of a price for a cosmetic product that is going to be used on the eyes and has to be super safe, that you are going to get safety regulations on products that cheap? If you're sitting there thinking yes, you are so wrong, guys. I hope the penny's starting to drop, and this is the problem that we have within our lash industry. Now let's talk about outsourcing abroad as the issues. Now, if you are somebody that wants to sell products, then finding trusted manufacturers is really time consuming. It's extremely costly to have to keep buying these samples in because you don't just get them for free. And it's really hard work. You will be spending months, if not years, testing these products on real clients and charting the results. This is everything that I do and good sellers do to ensure that the products that they're going to be retailing actually do the job. Now the problem is that when you outsource overseas, the brand trusts the manufacturer's word that they are following all the specifications and that the finished product will be safe, effective and what they've promised. Now to start off with, you'll find that many manufacturers quote a very low price to produce their products because obviously they want your trade in a very, very competitive industry, especially out in the Far East where there's so many manufacturers. And a lot of the time it's a price that they can't actually meet at their facility. So what happens is that without the brand's knowledge, they actually outsource to a much less expensive factory and then they make a small profit on it. And the brand has no idea who's producing their product and how it is being produced. Because unless you are there in close proximity with your manufacturer, which you're not going to be, you know, if you're in the UK, Australia, America, Canada, and you're getting your products produced in the Far East because that's where the factories are, there's no way that you can actually be there and oversee what is going on. And also what starts happening, and any seller will tell you this, and if you're a seller listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about, the quality will start really high and then it decreases over time because they have your money, they've locked you in. You've spent months and months and months going backwards and forwards with these manufacturers testing samples, you've invested a lot of money already. You then simply can't pull out because then you've got no stock. You're then going to have to go and start that process elsewhere with another manufacturer, and it could be another year until you've got another product on the shelves and you've got people that are customers of yours wanting those products. So pretty much they have you over a barrel, you're stuck. And this is something that we all suffer with as sellers, is actually trying to get that continuity, that consistency of high quality products from your manufacturers. And again, a lot of the time, if they're outsourcing it to other companies, then the quality control is completely lost, and it's really difficult for all sellers. So we just touched on the lack of quality control. Now here's a common scenario. So what can happen, especially like with the liquid-based cosmetics, is manufacturers will then start to substitute a brand's ingredients for lower quality, lower cost ingredients without consulting the brand. So the product the brand thinks they're actually selling has been altered in ways that they aren't even aware of. And like I said, when the products are produced overseas, the brands have little or no visibility into their production. Now, while they can actually provide the specifications on the ingredients and the production methods, they actually can't be 100% sure that these guidelines are being followed unless they're literally in their pockets all day long, which they're not going to be. And just actually think back to a time where you've actually been using a product from a seller, you've always used that same product, you know how that product works, but the formula seems to have changed. Something just isn't working the way it's working, yet you go to your seller and they claim this isn't the case. Now, it's not that the seller's being dishonest. They personally haven't changed the formula, but actually it's the manufacturer has. Now, unless that seller tests every product they sell, it's always impossible for them to have 100% quality control over the products that they sell. So as you can see, it's really, really difficult, and this goes on all of the time. Now, just imagine the health effects that the change of ingredients or the quality of the products can have on an individual when using cosmetic-based products. Because if a manufacturer chooses to substitute an ingredient of any of our lash-based cosmetic products, this can so easily go undetected and cause serious risk to the clients. And sadly, when cost is the main priority, that means that other aspects like safety, quality, and the ethics take a back seat. Now, if savings can be found by choosing lower quality ingredients or producing under unethical conditions, then so be it. And I don't want to talk bad of manufacturers. I'm not here to sort of bash any manufacturers or the industry that they do, which is manufacturing the products. But these guys that produce these products are not lash specialists. They don't work with the clients day in, day out. They don't work with us day in, day out. They actually don't really care. They are literally there to produce products for super cheap price so that they can earn loads of money off it. Do you honestly think that they really care? And in countries where some of the regulations fall very, very short, and again, not to bash any other country's regulations, there's nobody going into these factories or these manufacturing units and policing what they're actually doing. In countries like the UK, America, Canada, Australia, we do naturally have higher regulations than a lot of other countries out there. So, especially in the UK here, our regulations are so strict, but we can't say that for all the other countries out there. So this is something we really do have to consider, and we can't go around burying our head in the sand anymore. So you might be thinking, well, how is this actually allowed to happen then? It's because no one really polices the production or the export or the importation of cosmetic-based products. It's an unregulated industry. Now, here's an example. The FDA only inspects about 0.3% of imported cosmetics into the USA. So think how many are actually coming in that have got nasties in them that are potentially harmful to health. And very few cosmetics are ever inspected for quality or safety on entry into any country. So again, one of the reasons why we have this issue within the lash industry and actually within the beauty industry as a whole. Now I'm going to touch on the UK and the EU regulations here because obviously I'm from here, but you really do need to take note of this depending where you are in the world. Now, being from the UK means that we are still governed by EU regulations. Although we came out of the EU a couple of years ago, we're still not fully out of it, but we're going down the route of being fully out of Europe. And it means that our regulations are some of the safest in the world. Actually, we tend to supersede most across the globe. We really do have very strict quality control and strict regulations governing cosmetics. Now, I personally, being in the UK, I cannot buy cosmetic-based products in from East Asia because none of them will comply with our strict regulations. Scarily, they actually all fall very short, extremely short of what is classed as safe. So instead, we actually have to have our cosmetic-based products manufactured in either the UK or Europe to ensure that we conform, and most importantly, so that I as a seller is 100% confident that what I am selling is safe. So even if I could buy cheap products abroad, If I know that they're not meeting the safety regulations, I am never ever going to sell them. I'm never going to sell them to other lash artists who are going to be using them on real clients. I don't want to use them on my clients. I don't want to be using them myself because that poses a threat to my own health. And this costs my company and other ethical companies so much more than the $2 to $5 wholesale price that many sellers pay for their cosmetic products. My glues and cosmetic based products are so expensive to buy. I literally make a couple of dollars profit on them. But you know what? For me, this industry is about passion. It's about providing high quality, safe products. And it does break my heart when I see people just going out to the Far East and buying in cheap, non-approved products and selling them to pretty much an industry that is completely unaware that what they are buying is really toxic for their clients. So I'm just going to talk about some of the regulations that we actually have to have in the EU. So we have to have the correct safety data sheets. So this is a sheet that comes with your cosmetic based product, which pretty much lists the hazards on there. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Now, many of the safety data sheets that are from other countries do not meet these requirements. So for example, the percentage of the ingredients, they just simply don't add up. Now, labelling of your cosmetic-based products, they have to be GHS compliant. Now, this stands for Globally Harmonised System of the Classification and Labelling of Chemicals. So pretty much it is a set of guidelines for ensuring the safe production, the transport, the handling, the use, the disposal of chemicals. Now, the vast majority of labels from suppliers outside of Europe do not meet these requirements. So they also have to be REACH compliant. This is a regulation of the European Union and it's adopted to improve the protection of human health and the environment from the risks that can be posed by chemicals, whilst enhancing the competitiveness of the EU chemicals industry. So REACH actually stands for Registration, Evaluation, Authorisation and Restriction of Chemicals. Now most lash adhesives are not REACH compliant, as well as the other liquid-based cosmetic products that we see coming into the UK. Let's talk about the CMR. This is the Conflict Mineral Reporting Compliant. Now, EU cosmetics legislation contains provisions on the use of substances classified as carcinogenic, mutagenic, or toxic for reproduction. The use of CMR substances is actually prohibited and should never be present in lash adhesives. Scarily, many outside of the EU do contain these. Guys, this is serious stuff. CAS numbers. So this is a universally recognised number and it's used to provide a unique, unmistakable identifier for chemical substances. Now many lash products that are coming in have either no or the incorrect CAS numbers. So again, I'm talking about UK lash artists using unsafe cosmetics, but this applies to everybody across the globe. Now, many UK lash artists are unknowingly buying in lash cosmetics that do not conform to our personal safety standards. Amazon, eBay, AliExpress, they all sell cheap cosmetic lash products with super quick shipping. So many now choose to buy their supplies from these cheap sites for price and of course the convenience of getting that product, next day. But these sites, they don't police their cosmetics, and because consumers are unaware of this, they just assume that because they can buy it, then it must be safe. This is not the case. No one is policing this. We are just in this world selling unsafe products for super cheap, super quick, and anyone out there can buy them. This is terrifying, guys. Now you're probably thinking, well, I'm not in the UK, so this doesn't apply to me, so I'm just going to ignore this presentation. Now, the UK and the EU has strict regulations, some of the safest in the world, and you've got to look from the outside and think, well, if we've deemed it to be unsafe, there is evidence to suggest it is unsafe for all humans. So not just humans in the UK, it's going to be human beings across the world. It doesn't matter where we live, we're all the same. And just because you live or work outside the EU, like I said, doesn't make you immune to the potential health risks that these liquid-based cosmetic products are posing to people out there. And millions of pounds is spent researching the safety of these products. Other countries should not ignore this. Instead, why not use the findings, that these countries like the UK, the EU have found through millions of pounds of investment to actually draw an international safety standard? And this is why many reputable, say that again, reputable lash suppliers are now sourcing cosmetic lash products from the UK or the EU because they know that what they are selling is safe. Now we're going to talk about a couple of ingredients that scarily we have found to be present in a lot of the non-approved adhesives that are coming in from outside of Europe, and I'm going to try my very best to pronounce these ingredients. So N-methylpyrrolidine, NMP, I think I've said that right. This is toxic to the reproductive system of male and female test animals, and the reproductive effects of NMP in humans have actually not been studied, but based on the animal test, you should treat this as a potential human reproductive hazard. So this means that if you are using a glue with this product in it, this is extremely harmful to women of childbearing age. So if you as a lash artist are wanting to get pregnant soon, or you are working on clients that are thinking of starting a family or having more children, and you are using a glue that has potentially got this in it, and don't forget, we've seen so many coming into the UK that have got this in it. Oh my God, guys, this, like I said before, this is serious stuff. And no one knows about this. No one talks about this. Now, the one below, this is going to be an interesting one for you guys, and it's probably going to sound very familiar. Phylic anhydride, polymethylene polyphenol polyisosanite. I think I said that right. They're really hard to pronounce. Now, the acute short-term effects from exposure in humans consist of irritation to the eyes, respiratory tract and skin, and chronic long-term effects observed in workers exposed are conjunctivitis, rhinoconjunctivitis, bronchitis, and irritation of the skin and mucous membranes of the respiratory tract. Now, animal studies indicate that chronic exposure to these vapours cause congestion, irritation, and injury to lung cells. Does this sound familiar, guys? Yes, it does. How many of you out there have been working with adhesives long term and suffer from these effects, whether mild or severe? Now, I'm sure many of you know Michelle Rath from Sinful Lashes. She actually has scarring on her lungs, permanent scarring on her lungs from years of working with poor adhesives that contained ththese sort of nasties when the lash industry was very, very new and we didn't know about this stuff. And she is severely allergic to most products now, and probably it all relates to, you know, using poor lash adhesives and cosmetic based products. Now, it doesn't matter whether your country prohibits them or not. Intensive research has shown these cosmetic products to be unsafe. Why would you ignore this and put yourself and your clients at risk? Really, guys, it's time to take action against unsafe products in an internationally unregulated industry, and that's what I'm hoping to do by doing these talks and raising awareness within the lash world. So you're probably thinking, well, how do I find out the ingredients in my products? Now, sadly, this is almost impossible because manufacturers do not list their full ingredients or exact formulations. They don't, because otherwise they're going to get stolen by other companies that are just going to make exactly the same product. Now, safety data sheets, these are also tricky as well because these actually provide the safety information. So they're only ever going to include the ingredients that are required to be known for the safety issues. So skin irritants, harmful, etc. Now, the safety data sheets includes things like safety information for transport, safety details for labelling, and anything that is relevant to the safety side of the product. Now, products from the Far East use the safety data sheet to include the full formula, or what looks like the full formula given exact percentages, and all adding up to 100% composition. So it then looks like the full formula to anyone who looks at it, and is therefore making the safety data sheet look much more conclusive. So people will then go, well, that safety sheet looks good, then that glue is safe, I'll buy that in. It's not the case. Now, when we did our research on the safety data sheets coming in from the Far East, every single one that we actually looked at did not comply. Now, the whole world should be working with the GHS standard, which was introduced actually a few years ago, back to combat this exact issue and ensure that safety data sheets are produced the same, with the same information that's written to GHS, and regardless of where that product comes from. So this is a global standard which is actually not being conformed to because no one's policing it. Now, below we've actually got an example of a Far East ingredients list from a safety data sheet. Now, there's 2 ingredients listed on here. There is no warning as to why they are listed. Yes, they add up to 100%, so for someone who does not know the makeup of cyanoacrylate would assume this is correct. Now, you cannot make cyanoacrylate with this formulation. They also on here have kept PMMA a secret. This is not allowed. So you can see what is going on with our industry. And there, again, there's no one policing this. So this is just allowed to come in and get through. Now you're probably thinking, well, it's okay, my glue is pure, it's medical grade, it's been approved. There is no such thing as producing a medical grade cyanoacrylate. To achieve medical approval, so it's about approval, it has to be tested and approved by a body. Now, there are many, many medical approvals to be approved to. Again, costing manufacturers thousands and thousands of dollars to approve each product they produce. Now, just because it's written, it doesn't mean it's true. But how do you really check? Now, look below. These, again, are off AliExpress. Professional medical grade lash glue. Medical grade. Do you honestly think that at this silly, silly cheap price, these products have actually been medically approved by an independent agency that comes in, and those companies pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have the safety certifications on every single product that they're selling for this price? Come on, we got to wake up and smell the coffee, guys. This is going on in an unregulated industry. So let's talk about sensitivities and allergies. Now, when you use safe and approved products, it's actually extremely rare that a client will experience a reaction. Of course, it's not impossible. However, quality cosmetics go through so much rigorous testing and approval to ensure they are safe and that reactions are rare. That's what they're testing for. That's where all the science comes from. Now, most clients that react to our lash products do so to either poor products or an underlying intolerance to poor products used on them over time. So sadly, even if you then swap them over to good quality products, the body already has an intolerance pretty much lying in wait. And then exposure to any product, even a good quality product, can then aggravate this underlying intolerance. And interestingly, since I developed my own brand, I've had zero reactions from my clients wearing my glue that I developed. Now, importantly, these were clients that had not worn lashes previously from other lash artists or using other adhesives for long periods of time. So those clients would have already exposed themselves to products, whereas the clients that I've been working on since I introduced my brand in 2015 I've not had any reactions to my products, like I said, because they hadn't been clients elsewhere and they hadn't already built up an intolerance due to unsafe lash glues being used on them. And I've lashed a lot of ladies over the years, and guys too. So where should I buy my adhesives and cosmetic products from? So trusted sellers. This is the key. So who is the brand owner? Are they a lash expert? So have they gone out and done the research, produced these products? Do they educate about the quality of their products? So this means you really have got to avoid Amazon, eBay, AliExpress, etc. Now, you do get the odd good supplier just selling on Amazon. It's another outlet. But on the whole, please avoid these glues off these sites unless you know who that brand is and who that owner of that brand is or that developer of those products. If you don't, try and Google them. I bet you'll find nothing on them. You know, most importantly, find out where those products come from. If they are coming from countries like the Far East, guys, you've got to be really, really careful. And again, not to bash these countries, but just because their safety regulations are so much lower than really what should be there for working on clients, because the industry is not policed. So think about UK and EU cosmetic products, because many global lash brands have now got their cosmetic-based products manufactured in the UK and the EU for the reasons that we've discussed today. Now, if you are outside of Europe, you can still buy approved products or buy from international companies like myself. Companies like myself, we offer quick, affordable shipping, and cosmetic products travel so well across the globe, so you don't need to worry thinking, oh, I don't want my glue to fly abroad. Most of the glues you're probably working with or cosmetic products are coming out of the Far East anyway, so they're travelling all over the place before they even get to you. You got to pay a little bit more, guys, so you really do get what you pay for. And again, there is a reason for this, which we spoke about, but they're still affordable. So we still sell our glues for £20 to £30 or 25 to 40 USD. You don't need to be paying $100 for good glues, trust me. I make a couple of pounds profit on my glues, like I said, because I'm very passionate about producing safe products. So guys, don't think you need to be paying an arm and a leg for high quality glues. And even so, actually, some of the glues that you're buying for high price, they're still coming out of the Far East and they're still unsafe. But companies are greedy and they just whack a high price label on it, write some flowery text about it to try and tell you that this glue is safe and it's the best out there. So guys, you've got to be really careful, and I appreciate it's a mindful, but please go and do your research behind the brand owner and also, like I said, where those products are coming from. So finally, please do not be ignorant, be ethical. Do not bury your head in the sand. Do not pretend that you've never heard this presentation, because this is going on, guys, and this is a major problem within our industry, and it's a problem that a lot of us aren't aware of, or a problem that a lot of us choose to ignore because they think, oh, well, we'll get away with it. The problem is that our lash industry is extremely new. in the grand scheme of things. We don't know the health effects that using these toxic products are having on our clients. But in 5 to 10 years' time, when our clients and ourselves, more importantly, have had serious overexposure to these products, we are going to get sick. We're going to get really sick. Look at Michelle Rath, for example. And all of this stuff is going to come out. And this is going to go viral. And our industry is probably likely to get a really bad name. So every single one of us has a responsibility to start taking a stand on this, to make sure that you are buying from reputable suppliers that are only producing safe cosmetic-based products. Because like I said, this is going to go bad, guys. And at the moment, we are getting away with it. But this isn't always going to be the case. So I do hope that you found that useful. I please hope that you're going to take note. And if you are using cosmetic-based lash products that you don't know where they're coming from, you got to go back to the drawing board, guys, and you got to do your research, because you are putting yourself and your clients at serious risk. If you are looking for good quality yet affordable cosmetic-based lash products, please come to us. We are really passionate. I work really hard with my manufacturers to ensure that what we are doing is safe. It's not something that I've spoken about over the years, but now I'm having to take a stand because I'm really worried for our lash industry and the health effects it's going to have on us and our clients. So come and check me out at eyelashexcellence.com. You can email me with any questions, info@eyelashexcellence.com. We're on Instagram, Eyelash Excellence, Facebook, Frankie Widows Eyelash Excellence, and YouTube. We've got some great videos on there, guys. Go and check that out. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you found that useful, and I've very much enjoyed doing this presentation. Goodbye.